What is Shabbat all about? We know in Shabbat the Mishnah says there are lametes melochot. But man ishtan, of all the lametes melochos, there's only one that's written in the Torah. Lo tavaru eish b'chol moshvatechem b'yom Shabbat. So man ishtana, of all the 39 melachas listed in Masechta Shabbos, the only one that's written in the written Torah is what? Don't light my fire on Shabbat. Why is that singled out from all of the lametes melachas? And also, Motzei Shabbat, we make a bracha bar maroesh. Why? We thank God because for 26 hours we couldn't what? Use fire. So we thank God now we can use fire. But for 26 hours we couldn't write either. So why don't we make a bracha bar michtav? Right? Bar michtav, tav. I mean, not just fire. We couldn't do any of the other 39 melachas either. So why do we make a bracha thanking God for the gift of fire on Motzei Shabbos? Because we couldn't use fire. We couldn't do all the other 38 melachas. We couldn't paint either. So make a bracha, now you can paint. And we couldn't do that, right? And again, why is Lo Tavaru Eish the only one that's singled out in the Torah from all the other lametes melachos? If you think about it, the key to the entire creation process is contained in fire. The key to the entire creation process is contained in fire and heat. Only when you can create heat, only then are you able to what? Make science and technology possible. There's something about fire. The key to the entire creation process is contained in fire and heat. Only when you can create heat are you able to what? Create science and technology. So on Shabbat, Hashem commands us to return the key to creation to Him. What's the key to creation? Fire. Because again, without fire and heat, science and technology would not be possible. During the week, Hashem says, Ashabar Elakim Lasot. God left the Bria undone, right, Moshe? Ashabar Elahim Lasot. During the 6 days, we have to be His partner to finish the world, right? God left the world unfinished. So we have to finish it. Physical creation. During the 6 days. We have to complete. But on Shabbos, God asked to give Him back the key to creation, which is symbolized by what? Light my fire. On Shabbos, God says, Zochor et Yom HaShabbos Lekadsho. The rest of the week, Lasot, we have to continue to perfect and create the world to be God's partner. But on Shabbos, God says, give me back the key to creation, which is symbolized by fire. So God says, Zochor et Yom HaShabbos. Remember, on Shabbos, remember that what? That we are only God's junior partners. He is the major partner. So on Shabbos, we give Him back the key to creation, which is symbolized by what? By fire. On Motzei Shabbos, God hands us back the key to creation. So on Shabbos, we're not creating anything, or are we? On Shabbos, we have to focus on rejuvenating the godly soul. Rejuvenating. In Parshas Kisisa it says, V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat. Right, Ray? I won't give up my day job, don't worry. The Jewish people shall observe the Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat. How do you make the Shabbos? Shabbos comes in automatically. What do you mean the Jewish people have to guard the Shabbos? La'asot et ha-Shabbat. How can we make Shabbos? Yehuda, doesn't it come in automatically? What do we have to do? We have to rejuvenate ourselves. On Shabbos, we got to rejuvenate. On Shabbat, we must utilize the Shabbat to grow spiritually, to recreate ourselves spiritually. During the 6 days of the week, Abraham, we're engaged in physical creation. On Shabbos, time out. Stop physically creating and what? Create or rejuvenate your godly soul. Shabbos is all about our spiritual creation. So therefore, the Ben Ish Chai says 1 hour of Talmud Torah on Shabbos It's like 1,000 hours on Wednesday. On Shabbos, we have to climb the soul ladder. During the week, we're occupied in completing God's physical world. Tikkun Olam. On Shabbos, time out. You're not creating physically. What are you creating? Your godly soul is being rejuvenated. Lasot et Shabbat. Through spiritual growth, Talmud Torah, Onik Shabbat. That's how we're creating ourselves what? Spiritually. The rest of the week, we focus on Bar Elokim Lasot, creating physically, to be God's partner. So now we know a little bit what Shabbos is about. Now we can ask the question, if you go to your sheets, can or must early Shabbat, must a wife follow her husband? So if you look at source number 1, in the Shulchan Aruch, source number 1 on your sheets, Afa Pish Lo Yispalel Hakol Adayin. Shulchan Aruch says, in source number 1, even though the congregation didn't daven yet, Kabbalah Shabbos, Im Kodam Hayochid, Vispalo Shal Shabbos and Bod Yom, a person daven Kabbalah Shabbat B'Yechidut, Shabbos is in, even though the sun is still shining. V'osa B'Siyas Malacha. You hear? And he's not allowed to do Malacha. Afilam Omash Eina Roitzel Kabbalah Shabbat. Even if he says, I don't want to accept Shabbos. If a person davened B'Yechidut on Friday and the sun is still shining, so for him it's Shabbos and he can't do Malacha, even though he says, I don't want to accept Shabbos. If he davened Kabbalah Shabbos, Mizmor Shila Yom Shabbat, even though it's still daylight, it's also to do Malacha for him, even though the congregation didn't daven yet. You hear? Question. A guy was Mekabel Shabbos early. You hear this, David? Welcome back. And he remembered he didn't put on tefillin today. I stopped the cup. I didn't take my spirulina that morning, Friday morning. And I just remembered late Shabbos afternoon, I already was Mekabel Shabbos, and I remembered I didn't put on tefillin. But the sun is still shining. So what's the dilemma day? For him, it's Shabbos. Can you allow to put on tefillin on Shabbos? No, it's Baal Tosef. It's still Shabbos for him. But the sun is still shining. So he has a dilemma. Putting on tefillin is a mitzvah min Torah. He accepted Shabbos early. He didn't put on tefillin, he just remembered. You're not allowed to put on tefillin on Shabbos, right? You're over a law of Baal Tosef. But he didn't put on tefillin today, so he's mevatel a mitzvah min Torah. What's the halacha? The halacha is, you hear this, David, as long as it's still day, even though he was Mekabel Shabbos, he must put on tefillin, Moshe. Why? Because accepting Shabbos early is only the Rabbanan. It's Tosfot Shabbos. Min HaTorah, it's not Shabbos yet. Min HaTorah, it's not Shabbos until what? The sun goes down. When he accepted Shabbos early, that's the Rabbanan, Yehuda. Not putting on tefillin is Issa min HaTorah. So therefore, even though he accepted Shabbos, that's the only Shabbos on rabbinic level. Min HaTorah, it ain't Shabbos until what, Nechama, the sun goes down. So therefore, if it's still daylight, even though he accepted Shabbat, he must what? Put on tefillin. Because accepting Shabbos early is only rabbinic level, not putting on tefillin is the Issa min HaTorah.
Normally you're supposed to daven Shemona Esrei and Shabbos and Shema with the tefillin. What does he do? Does he already daven?
No, he has to. So even though for him it's Shabbos already, it's only Shabbos on a rabbinic level. He has to put on tefillin and say Shema again. Because it's still daylight, so it's not Shabbos min HaTorah yet. It's only Shabbos to Rabbanan. And we know a Deraisa Ray trumps a Rabbanan. Okay? Now, look at source number 1. Source number 1. The second line. Imrov HaKol, that's what's spoken about a small town, there's only one shul. Imrov HaKal, Kiblu Aleim Shabbos, Yiddish Avram. If the majority have accepted Shabbos, Hamiut Nimshachem Achreim Al Karcham. So if you're the only shul in town, or the only minyan in town, even there's two shuls, the only minyan daven Shabbos what? Early. There ain't going to be a late minyan. You have to what? Follow them. Even though they're the miyut, since there's no late minyan, you have to what? Accept Shabbos early. You have to follow them if there's no late minyan. And if there is, b'vakasha, you can do what you want. If you have a late minyan, fine. We're talking when there is no late minyan. Adam shabol le'ir be'erev Shabbat. A person came to a city in erev Shabbat, Friday afternoon. V'kvar kiblu anshe ir Shabbos. And the people of that city have already what? Made an early Shabbos. Afa pi shadayin hayom gadol. You're not looking in. Afa pi shadayin hayom gadol. Even though the day is still what? Long. And they're the only minyan in town. And that minyan made an early Shabbos. And even though the sun is still shining, and you're a visitor, if you're carrying money or a bundle, you have to what? Drop it. It's not Shabbos yet, Shelley. But since the only minyan in town made an early Shabbos, and you're coming there, you have to drop your money belt. Drop it right there. If there's going to be a later minyan, Masha Bavakashah. But if it's the only minyan, and they accepted Shabbos early, and you're a visitor, too bad. For you it's Shabbos, and you have to drop your money belt. Pretty interesting, huh?
God didn't give us permission to make the 6-day Shabbos already. He said to us...
Look at source number 1. The Shulchan Aruch was very from, Masha. Shulchan Aruch was very from. Now he writes about an early Shabbos. Shulchan Aruch was written in 1560, Moshe, and he is writing about an early Shabbos. Mechaber, Rabbeinu Yosef Cairo, Namaran, is writing about an early Shabbos. That's why I made the copies. You shouldn't think I'm hallucinating. Can you show the copy to Rav Mordechai? Source number 2. Again, the Shulchan Aruch, Masha. Zrizin Magdimin LeMitzvot. Source number 2. Im hoya b'yom munan. Let's say it was a Friday afternoon cloudy. In those days, Shelley didn't have no watches. It was a cloudy Friday afternoon. Tot tzibor v'chosh v'shachashecha. A heavy dark clouds. And the congregation, the only shul in town, they thought that it's already what? Friday night. Vidliki nerot. Mispal arvis. So they lit candles and they davened Ma'ariv. And all of a sudden, what happened, Ray? The sun came out, the clouds dissipated, the sun came out, the Zohar Chachama, ain't sorech lachzos pal arvis. They don't have to daven Shabbos, they don't have to daven Ma'ariv again. Yiddish, they daven Ma'ariv on the false pretenses. They don't have to daven Ma'ariv again. Im kishpal lohoy plag mincha. If they daven after plag, and then the clouds dissipated, they don't have to daven again. That's a congregation. Let's the individual make that mistake. An individual has to daven again. But a congregation doesn't have to. What about doing work? They accepted Shabbos early because they thought it's not early. There was a heavy clouds. And now the clouds dissipated, and what? And the sun came out. So they don't have to daven again. You hear this? What about doing malacha? Mutar Moshe, why? The Kabbalah Shabbos Pataut. It was a case of mistaken identity. They didn't think it's an early Shabbos. They thought it's what? Friday night, the heavy dark clouds. And then they had no watches in those days. Watches are not that old, right? But anyway, so then when the sun came out, they don't have to daven again, but they're allowed to do malacha. Because they accepted Shabbos b'ta'ut. How do you say that in English? Made a mistake. B'ta'ut. A mistake. Some say that those people that lit candles early, even on the false pretenses, they are allowed to do malacha. But the rest of the household is allowed to do malacha. So some say that the wife who lit candles early on the false pretenses, she cannot do malacha, but the other people in the house can what? Do malacha. You hear? Very interesting.
Even the husband?
What?
Even the husband?
Even the husband what? Can do malacha. But the wife, even though she lit early on the false pretenses, one opinion is they can all do malacha. The other opinion is that the one who lit the candles, even though on the mistaken identity, she should not do malacha. Visharan shehabayis mitorin.
Who likes Burel when it's after the light?
What?
Who likes Burel when it's after the light?
It's already lit. The lady of the house lit, so I don't have to light again. The lady of the house lit. They're yoitza. It's not Shabbos for them. We'll get to it. Now we ask Rabbi Yaakov Goldman's question. Source number 3. Yesh omrim. See source number 3? Shemi shekibol olav Shabbat koidim shecha. Rabbi Yaakov, your question. Someone davened with the first minyan at the Beit HaNasi. So he took in Shabbos, it's not dark yet. And then he got home and he discovered he forgot to put on his hot plate. Mutar loime li Yisrael chavero lasais malacha. Yiddish? You're coming home from shul. You davened already. You get home and you discover that you forgot to plug in your fridge or your hot plate. Your neighbor is going to daven with the late minyan. You're allowed to knock on his door. For me, it's Shabbos already. For him, it ain't. Mutar loime li Yisrael chavero. You're allowed to tell your friendly Jewish neighbor, do me a favor, plug in my hot plate. Why don't you plug it in yourself, Jelly? I can't. It's Shabbos for me. But it's not Shabbos for you. So, b'vakasha, you can tell a Jew to be your Shabbos goy as long as it's not what? Sundown yet?
So you can press the elevator for you?
Yes, he can press the elevator. You don't believe it? The Shulchan Aruch, Hilchos Shabbos, Siman Reish Samach Gimel, source number 3. Okay.
You have to do it in a steel way?
No, right out. Don't play no games. Muta loime li Yisrael chavero lasais malacha. Now, the $64 question. The wife and husband have to be on the same page. Right? The husband wants to make an early Shabbos, and the wife says, I'm not finished with the chulent yet. Or I'm not finishing peeling the potatoes and vacuuming. Does she have to follow hubby Ray?
I don't know.
Stay tuned. I'm glad you came. Source number 5. Igros Moshe. Hine, Keshabal, Kabal Olav Shabbos and Bod Yom. Rav Moshe Feinstein speaks about an early Shabbos. I think he was also religious. Moshe Feinstein. Hine, Keshabal, Kibal Olav, source number 5, Shabbos Bod Yom. The husband accepted Shabbos early. He went to the first minyan at the Nasi Shul. Ima Isha Nami Anesa Malacha. Does the Bible also, she didn't go to the Nasi Shul to the first minyan. The husband for him at Shabbos. Is she also to do malacha too? L'chora pashut. Yehuda, what's the next word? L'chora pashut. She'enoi goreres achrav. She doesn't have to follow him. Oh, a good wife doesn't have to follow her husband. Moshe Feinstein. What's this? Women's live. L'chora pashut. It's very obvious, says Rav Moshe, she'eino negreres achrav, she does not have to follow hubby. The kamo, how do I know? The kamo she'eino yochal l'chayiv ben adorim, she'nodar afshul ligmar, just like the husband cannot obligate his wife to make a neder for her. Af be'amar beferush he tasar det chayiv, the husband cannot obligate the wife to make a certain neder. Kamo kain, therefore, he cannot forbid her to do malacha b'din Tosfet Shabbos, because he went to the first minyan at the Nasi Shul. That's Tosfet Shabbos that he accepted on himself. He cannot obligate her. Loy rak b'stama, ela af b'ferush. Even if he said, Bible, my beloved wife, shehu mekabel Shabbos. Amikabel Shabbos, gam lasras ishtoi. And you also, my dear wife, have to be Mekabel Shabbos, and you can't do Malacha, Einoi Klum. Ooh, that's telling him. Einoi Klum, Segunish Vet. How do you say that in English? Einoi Klum. Even if he tells her Beferish, I'm accepting Shabbos early, I'm going to the first minyan at 6 o'clock, I want you also to forbid Malacha, Einoi Klum. What does that mean? Nothing. Nothing. Why? This is Rav Moshe Feinstein writing. I think he was very Haredi. He was Haredi. No. Einoi Klum. Af shekabala Shabbos eino bedin neder. Du ein al ze alav is a neder. Ella asay de toises Shabbos. Shu deraisa. And he finds out that what? That he cannot obligate his wife to keep her. And that's the psak. So the husband can make an early Shabbos, and he cannot obligate his wife to make an early Shabbos. She can, and that's the halacha. That's the halacha. Now, question. The lady lights candles. It's still 40 minutes to Shabbos. Not even an early Shabbos. A late Shabbos. In Jerusalem, even a late Shabbos, it's 40 minutes early.
I don't like 40 minutes before. The Rav told me I don't
In Jerusalem, it's 40 minutes. The rest of Israel, it's 20 minutes. Jerusalem. So she lit the candles. A late Shabbos. Or even an early Shabbos. Can she take a taxi to the Kotel, Nechama?
You just said something extra.
She lit candles. Can she take a taxi to the Kotel? Late Shabbos, early Shabbos, even a late Shabbos is still 40 minutes. Can she take a taxi to the Kotel?
Yes.
It depends. It depends. What? It depends. If she didn't say anything, then it's Shabbos. But if she makes a verbal statement, Nechama, I'm lighting candles, but I'm not accepting Shabbos yet because I want to take a taxi to my friend, b'vakasha, but she has to make a verbal statement. Otherwise, it's a chazakah. When she lit candles, it's already Shabbos. So if she doesn't want to accept Shabbos yet, she must verbalize it. I'm lighting candles, but I'm not accepting Shabbos yet. I want to take the taxi to my friend's house, to the Kotel is fine. Okay? Now, yes?
The man is coming in Shabbos early.
The man takes Shabbos early. So he has to light candles. You're right. He has to light candles. That's right. He has to light candles. And the wife takes a later Shabbos. Right?
And also lights candles.
That's right. Nachon, later. Right? Now, it's very interesting. You see the bottom of the page? Rav Moshe Feinstein Zatzal accepted rebuke from an old lady in his apartment building. You know the story? Tell you the story. No? Mm-hmm. Is it Shabbos or not? What? What happened? You know, the lady in his apartment building, in the projects, in FDR Drive, she lit candles, and she sees the great Tzaddik Hador climbing into a car, driving to the shul on Shabbos. So Matzah Shabbos, she calls him up. Rebbe, I almost had a heart attack, Rebbe. I lit candles, it's 4:18, and I see the tzaddik of the generation going into a car on Shabbos, Rebbe. So he could have said, you are questioning me. I'm the Godel Hador. Who are you to question me? He answered it with such love and affection. He writes a whole tshuva for her. He immortalized her. This anonymous woman, this Yidana, he immortalized her in Igros Moshe. And he goes through a whole tshuva, and he says to her, I'll read it to you quickly, you don't have it on your sheet. He says to her, you can drive in a car, achas lokas haneros, because you still have 18 minutes to get to where you have to go. Is there a shas maras ayin or not? Is there a shas maras ayin? So he says as follows, it's not maras ayin, because something which is a heter gomer Everybody knows that when you light candles in New York, you still have 18 minutes to do malacha. Everybody knows it. So it's not a question of what? Of Marasayan. Not a question of Marasayan.
Here 40 minutes.
Here 4, but New York 18 minutes. And everybody knows, says the great Moshe, that women light candles 18 minutes early. And men are mekablish. And we just said, if she made a t'nai or not. If you made a t'nai or not, if you verbalized or not. And Rabbi Moshe says that everybody knows that the men still have 18 minutes, Tois Shabbos. He says, Esri minuten, koidem ashkia. Esri minuten, what does that mean? 20 minutes, koidem ashkia, right? So it's mefursam. Everybody knows that men have that 18 to 20 minute leeway. Yeah? And he says as follows, that even though there's no din of Marasayin, because everybody knows I still have 18 to 20 minutes to get in the car, he rides the car, but since it upsets you and other people might make a mistake, even though it's not Marasayin, he says, Mikol Makoim, since it upsets you, he says, Beli Neder, I won't travel in a car. B'shas hadlokas haneros. I don't want you to have a heart attack. Take a pill and lie down. He is great tzaddik. First he goes explain, it's not Marasayan. Everybody knows we have 20 minutes, 18 minutes. Not Shayach Marasayan, right? But since it upsets you, therefore, Ere Beli Neder, Shalei Lisa Od Bekar. I won't travel in a car. B'shas hadlokas haneros. Here is great tzaddik accepted rebuke from a Yidina. How do you say Yidin in English? A Yidina.
A Yidden is not the same as a Yidden.
No, a Yidina.
A little old lady. Yeah.
That's a tzaddik.
What if it's
With
not-
sensitivity to immortalize her. Huh? She said, Rebbe, what do you want to give me a heart attack, Rebbe? So explain to her, it's not even Marasayan, everybody knows, 18, 20 minutes, but if it upsets you, Beli Neder, I won't do it no more. Now, in a different tshuva, do you remember Ratner's on the Lower East Side?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to eat there?
That was very questionable.
Please hear me. Now hear this. They get to Marasayan, you can write it down, look it up. Igros Moshe, Oirachayim, Chelik Bet, Simin Mem. You don't have it in front of you, but you can look it up. I think you can Google this. Igros Moshe, Orachayim, Chelik Bet, Simin Mem. He doesn't mention Rattas by name, Rivka, but I think that's what he's talking about, because you'll hear.
Big issue.
Ubedovar, imutar lecho berestaurant. Shemachinim sham rak macholei chalav. Are you allowed to eat in a restaurant? He writes restaurant. They only prepare macholei chalav. They only prepare what? Dairy. Who do you think he's talking about? He lives in the Lower East Side. He doesn't mention Rattas, but he Avalhei mechalei Shabbat. Rattas was open on Shabbos.
Yeah, that was a big problem.
Rattas was open on Shabbos. Moshe, I remember the delicious onion rolls they had. The best onion rolls. They were open on Shabbos. So he must be writing about them. He doesn't mention a name. If you're allowed to eat the restaurant that they prepare rak macholei chalav, only dairy, but they're open, but they're mechalei Shabbat. Hine af sham ef shalios kama macholas hasoros kedogin tameim. Perhaps there is what? They also serve fish. Maybe they serve non-kosher fish. One second. The gam hashumen shemetagne behem. Maybe the oil that they use to fry the blintzes, maybe it's from Nevela. Who knows what oil they use? V'gam gevinois. Oh, Yehuda Lev. V'gam gevinois asoros. Maybe the cheese itself is what? Not kosher cheese. V'yesh gam devorim sh'arsim mishim bishol akum. Even if everything is kosher, there's a problem. Who's cooking in the kitchen? Jose Jimenez. Remember my name, Jose Jimenez? Bishol akum. Shalom, bishol akum. You hear the great Moshe? V'lechein, let me finish, then you'll ask. V'lechein, Igros Moshe, Orachayim, Chelik Bet, Siman Mem. V'lechein, af likonesh l'sham le'echol devarim hayuduim she'eino behem shim chasash iser, just to enter there, even to eat onion rolls, that there's no chashash iser, it's not fried in anything, it's only dairy, and you know that the cheese is kosher cheese, Philadelphia cream cheese. Yesh la'asar mipnei maris ayin. Morris T. Ayin. Remember him? Morris T. Ayin. The chashad. So you shouldn't go in there even to eat things that you know is strictly what? Kosher.
Or even to make a phone call.
Maris Ayin chashad. But then he says something incredible, Ray. Ach, I don't understand this. Ach im hoyo ra'av biyoter. If he's very hungry, shemitztayer tuva, he has a lot of tsar, he's starving. The ancient mokom ache elechol. Shmulka Bernstein's is closed. Maybe he's a remember Shmulka Bernstein's? No. Maybe he's a vegetarian. There's no other place to eat, and he is very hungry. Yochol likanesh lisham. First he says you're not allowed to enter there. It's Morris Tiayin. Then he says, Ach imra biyoter, he's very hungry, shemitztaya tuva, he's in a lot of pain. Ve'ein shimokam achalechol. David, he's a vegetarian, he won't go to Shmulka Bernstein's. There's no other place for him to eat. There's only Ratner's. It doesn't say Ratner's, but I think he's talking about Ratner's, because they were open on Shabbos. Yochel likonesham, listen to this, Moshe. He's allowed to enter there, lechol devarim hayuduim l'torin, to eat things that he knows is what? Kosher. Avol tzorach sheyeh b'tzina. But you have to do it under the QT. What? Take off your strimel and put on a baseball hat. Avol tzorach sheyeh b'tzina. What does b'tzina mean? B'tzina, how do you say that in English? It's discreet. I Marasayan, the great tzaddik says, the mokom tzara upseida loigozu marasayin. Many people don't know that. Marasayin is the Issa de Rabbanan. What will the neighbors say? But the great Rav Moshe Feinstein Zatzal says, the mokom tzara, how do you say that, Maddie? Where there's tsar, upseida, and a monetary loss, loigozu Rabbanan, a marasayin. Marasayin is a rabbinic enactment, and when the person is suffering great discomfort or a great financial loss, you do not apply the principle of what? Marasayin. Many people don't know that. So a lot of people use this heter. I remember in the 1960s, Sharona, we could ask Rabbi Rubin, many used Rav Moshe's heter. They had no place to eat. They were vegetarian. They went into Ratner's. And they ordered potato soup and onion rolls. Because that, you know, is kosher. Potato, I'm very hungry, I'm nowhere to eat. Right? So you order potato soup and onion rolls. Today they're more from. But this is the great Moshe Feinstein. Now when he came out with this, don't ask him. Williamsburg, a big studim. Oh, did they come down on him? The Satmar, don't ask. You're not talking when you're dying of hunger. When you're dying of hunger, you can eat pig. We're not talking in Pekuach Nefesh. Then you can eat pig. Not Pekuach Nefesh. You're just very uncomfortable and you're very hungry. You can go in there. Maddie, did you know that?
You go into any
I used that heter in the 1960s. I'm dating myself. To eat in Ratner's, potato soup and cheese blintzes. I used this heter. Moshe Feinstein.
Brag about it.
Moshe Feinstein, Evelyn, you need better than him. Right?
Today, no person would give them a hechsher. They wouldn't have a hechsher.
They didn't have a hechsher.
They didn't have a hechsher.
No. Ratner's never had a hechsher because they're open on Shabbos. So he's saying, if you're b'mokom tsar, you can eat what you know. He says again, yochel likonesh l'sham, le'echol devarim hayeduim l'metorin. Yochel likonesh l'sham, le'echol devarim hayeduim l'metorin. I will tzorach sheyeh betzina. So I pulled my baseball cap low on my head. I used to wear a Yankee hat, a Yankee cap.
He has a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What if Ratner sold their business on Shabbat?
Oh, Jenny Grossinger would do that. The Grossinger Hotel.
Then would that make it
Life magazine.
able to get a half share?
Life magazine had an article that every Friday afternoon, Jenny Grossinger, when she was alive, sold the hotel to a Goyish worker, and she bought it back, Motzei Shabbos.
Right. But would they been able to get a half share if they sold it?
Well, Grossingers had a hechsher, and they got it that way. They got that hechsher. Like they sold a hotel, like they sell Yechomitz. But Ratners never did that. They never had a hechsher. And yet the great Moshe Feinstein said, if you're very hungry, b'mokom tsar, there's no marasayin, but do it inconspicuously. And I know many frum Jews, Moshe, use that heter. You walked into Rattas and those, yes, Rabbi Reuben, he'll know. Many kippas sitting there. They use this Reb Moshe.
I asked the rabbi that I ate lunch with every day with my neighbor, and I said,
Yeah.
how come you feel that you can eat here?
Ratners.
He said, you can only do this in the Milchik restaurant.
But Ratners is Milchiks,
No,
of course.
No, but he explained to me that to eat in the Milchik restaurant, you can, but you could never eat in a Fleishik restaurant.
Well, of course not.
That didn't-
He says they only sell machale chalav, and only fish that they sold was whitefish and sable and lox.
Yeah.
They didn't sell any treifa fish, Maddie.
Right.
They only sold sable, lox, and whitefish.
So it was a Milchik restaurant.
It was a Milchika restaurant. And there's a problem with Bishul Akum, but incredible. Bishul Akum and Marasayan are rabbinic enactments. The great Rav says, Nachama, B'mokim tsar, loy gozu rabbanon. So he took a lot of flack for this. Ooh, did he take flack for this? But he's the superstar of the 20th century, Ray. He had breite plates. How do you say that? Wide shoulders. Oh, he had breite plates.
Did Rabbi Soloveitchik agree with him?
I don't know if he agreed with him. I don't know. You need better than Moshe Feinstein? Are you listening to me?
I don't think
So-
Moshe ate there himself.
But the big, many people don't know that Marasayan and what? And Bishul Akum is the Issa de Rabbanon. And the great Rav says, if you're mitzar, if you're very hungry, then Bishul Akum and Marasayan, the rabbis, were not geyser. That's the big chiddush of the great Rabbi Nechama. Geyser, a decree. B'mokem tsar loy gozu Rabbanon. If you have great tsar, they're not geyser, the Isra Bishul Akum, they don't decree, and they don't even decree what? Marasayan. The rabbis are not out to give you a hard time. See, in a Torah law, you can't play around, Sharona. But in the rabbinic enactment, the rabbis can what? In their own decrees, they can make decrees. It only applies when you not have tsar, when you not have sid meruba, right? You can't tell a goy on Shabbos do malacha. But if there's a great financial loss, you can tell him. Because telling a goy to do malacha on Shabbos is the Rabbanan. Yeah. And the Issa the Rabbanan, the rabbi says, there's a great loss of a tzarchei rabbim, we're not geyser. How do you say geyser? We don't agree, yes?
This heter can also be used to go into a non-kosher restaurant if you need to use the restroom, because it's tsar, and you're suffering.
Oh, Sharona, you hit a home run. Sharona just hit a home run.
A friend of mine who is a tour guide had
Ooh.
to stop in a Druze village and go to a Druze, because he knew this fellow from
Right.
to a Druze restaurant, because the people on his small bus, they had missed a couple of stops, and they
had to go to the toilet.
and they had
That's
to-
the worst tsar. If you
Worse.
cannot go to the
It's not
toilet,
that. In a way, it could be kukok. No, never. So he's not. Everybody.
Not even that.
Everybody was giving him an argument, saying, "What are you talking? We can't go into this. You know, it's a non-kosher restaurant. What will people think?" Well, first of all, they're in a Jewish village. You know, who, what? You know, the.
no, Marasayan is all over.
Okay.
Marasayan, afil echad v'chadore. But
he used this heter. He said, "You're in schar. You're suffering."
tsar, so he knew this.
Yes.
Can you write it down, Sharona? Igros Moshe, Orachayim, Chelik Bet, Simin Mem.
Yep.
B'mokim tsar, the rabbis were not geyser Marasayan. And there's no worse tsar, Rivka, than what? Than not be able to go to the toilet.
Right.
When you have to go, That's real tsar. So the Chiddush is, Benjamin, the Chachamim were not goyzer, says the great Rav Moshe Feinstein. So if you have to go to the toilet real bad, you can go into what? You can go into a tray for McDonald's to use the toilet. Mokum tsar, loy gozer rabbanon.
You have to make a phone call.
But that's not mokum tsar.
That's not shot.
What kind of tsar? No.
Okay.
We're talking about physical discomfort, Rivka. Physical discomfort. You don't want to make in your pants, right? Or you're starving. That's physical discomfort. In such a case, the great Rav Moshe says the Chazal were not goyzer, not bishul akum, and not what? Marasayin. Like gozer rabbanan. Pretty interesting, right? So anyway, on Thursday we have a class on current events in the Haftorah. Thank you very much.